In this video we'll be going over the continuation of the csharp.net video tutorials. So we'll be doing another program to demonstrate the topics on inheritance and polymorphism. So this is a lab, so we have, to start, we just have this form here that I just quickly set up with the drag and drop. So we have the create cat button on the right, create dog button, and create animal button. Those are the names. Those are the name properties for the buttons, or the identifiers. I've changed the text, auto size, set auto size to true. You can code those, it's up to you. We've done some examples coding them already. I just quickly did it because this program also needed some other stuff. So we have that, and then we have not that. We have don't need that. I guess the main method is actually just auto-generated by the compiler. That's the file for it. There's 3 lines of code in there. We haven't really talked about those too much. Here and there, we discuss them. We'll be talking about pretty much just this dog class here. So we're gonna have 2 classes here. Actually, no, sorry, 3. Is there one more here? There we go. So we have the animal class here. So you're gonna need the animal class. So I've talked about these in the previous video. So those are in the csharp.net playlist on my channel. So I've discussed how to create these and set them up. So there's this, which is our pretty much the base class, superclass, parent class, whatever you want to call it. Basically, C# references them as the base class through the base keyword, so you can use base or whatever. Java more so reference them as the parent or the superclass, so pretty much just a superclass, but it's all the same concept, same thing. So then we have 2 derived classes as well. So we have the cat class here, inherits from animal. We use the base class's constructor to set up one of the parameters. So notice the make sound method was overridden, so the dog class is pretty much the same thing. There's a dog class there. So once again, I've discussed everything in the previous video in the playlist, one of the previous videos. When we first discussed it, I talked about like all of it. So now I'll be talking about pretty much just doing the actual form part for it. So the form code will have to we'll do all, instead of double clicking these buttons and generating the event handler, we'll do those buttons probably right now to start, and we'll do the event handlers for the buttons. Alright, so let's do that here. So the animal class is done. The dog and the cat classes are both done as well. You'll need, if you're getting an error, you'll need this using systems.windows.forms. I'm using Rider. You can use Visual Studio or Rider. I prefer Rider, which is JetBrains software. Atom 1 also might be okay. I'm not sure if they have C# though. I've heard Atom 1's pretty good, but I heard JetBrains is better though. I use JetBrains. Atom 1 is kind of a more generic compiler for lots of different languages, I think. The themes are supposed to be pretty good though, if you're looking for a secondary IDE to try. Atom 1 might be good at some point. Okay, so we have this form here. So form 1, you can change it to main form. Form 1 is fine because we don't have two forms. Okay, so first we'll get the buttons in. So we'll go to this code. I'm going to click the code button. There's two tabs, the design window and the code editor, so I'm going to click the code editor. So I'm just going to reference the buttons here. Create animal button, create dog button, and create cat button. I'm just going to go left to right. Okay, so here we'll just say create animal button dot click plus equals new event handler. We'll pass in create animal button underscore click semicolon. That should be fine. We'll do the same thing for create dog button underscore click plus equals new event handler. Here we'll pass in create dog button underscore click. Okay, so what's happening with this? Did I spell something wrong? Probably. So we'll go to the design window. I'm going to just hover over this create dog button. I'm going to check the name since we did it kind of quickly through. Well, I did it through the design editor. You could just code it, which we've done in the past. That takes a while though, so I just did that quickly. So here we have create dog button. That should work now, hopefully. Was it spelled wrong? Create dog button underscore. Oh, whoops, sorry. I think it's just because of this dot. My bad. Okay, let's redo this. Confuse people here. Okay, so once again we'll go with create dog button. To start, we want to reference the dog button's click method or event handler method. So we'll say create dog button dot click, not underscore, because we're not naming it. We're going to use the dot operator to access its methods, which then we want click because it's a button. Then we'll do plus equals new event handler. And here we'll pass in, we're just going to name it here, create dog button. This is where we'll pass in underscore click. Excuse me. Okay, so then now we'll do the create cat button. Dot click plus equals new event handler. Here we'll say create button underscore, oh sorry, create cat button underscore click. Now we'll do all the definitions for those. So private void create animal button underscore click, passing in object sender comma event args e. We'll do the rest the same way, it's just changing the name. So we'll say void create dog button underscore click, passing in object sender and event args e as a parameter. Last one, so private void create cat button takes parameter object sender comma event args e. Alright, so done. Something's wrong with this as well. Okay, so perhaps the name is wrong this time, so I'll hover over the create cat button, I'll rename it. I can't see the text, it's so small. I don't know how to change the text size. Hopefully that makes it light up yellow. Nope. Create cat button dot click. Did I spell something wrong? Nope. Create cat button dot click. Okay, let's see what the error is. Problems. Cannot choose method. Do you intend to invoke the method? Cannot choose method from method group. 20, 20, 20, 33. Okay, something's wrong here. Did I do something wrong? Is that a text field? Text box? No. Label? No. I spelled this wrong still. Okay, let's try it again. Create cat button. Oops. Create cat button. Enter. Code. I spelled something wrong up here. Create cat button. Right there. Dot click. Plus equals new event handler passing in create cat button underscore click. Okay, what the hell is wrong with this? Private void create dog button underscore create. Oh, whoops, was it just this the whole time? Okay, yeah, it was. I think that was the problem there. Okay, so what happened is we should have passed this name create cat button, or I should have passed this create cat button underscore click to this method name. So private void create cat button underscore click. I just had create cat button. So we change that, and then we'll have that's pretty much it. So we'll just move on to the show animal method. What else we have? Then we'll do all the buttons. Okay, so remember we're passing objects here as parameters using polymorphism. This is a polymorphism lab. So let's just see what we have here. So the show animal info method accepts an animal object as an argument. It displays the object species and calls its make sound method. Okay. So I believe that the point of this is that it can call different animal objects depending on what object call it, which is pretty much polymorphism. Well, that is polymorphism. Which method, the method that is called depends on the object that called it. That's not the exact definition, but that's kind of what they're getting at. That might be around what the definition is. I kind of forgot what the exact definition is. Basically, the method call at runtime depends on the object that called it. Okay, so here, we'll just start doing that. Okay, so create cat button under, no, sorry, that's wrong. Okay, so under here we'll have a private show animal info, that's what it's called. Takes an animal name, oh, you can name whatever you want, we'll just call it animal. To keep it easy, so it takes an animal object named animal as a parameter. The private, forgot the type here, private void, I think. Private void show animal info takes parameter animal, takes a type of animal object named animal. open a block, and we'll call messagebox.show. Pass a string to it, we'll say species. Concatenated to. So here we'll say species is concatenated to animal dot species. Semicolon. Then here we'll say animal dot make sound. That's pretty much it. So next we'll go to the create animal button underscore click. So we'll instantiate an animal object. So we'll say animal points a new animal. What does animal take as a parameter? It takes a string named species. So here we'll pass it a species. We'll just say that it's an animal. Generic animal, I don't know. Okay, so then we're here we'll call show animal info passing in animal. Without the capital. So show animal info, that's going to be a method call, which will just transfer up here. So once this line's executed, the code execution will move here, pass the argument to the parameter, show that the species is, then call the species property on the animal object, then call its make sound method. Okay. So what I think is that what's going to happen is that we're going to pass an animal here, and based on what kind of object it is, that's what make sound method it calls. That's what I'm guessing. That's what we're going to do here. Let's just see what else we can do here. So we have this create dog button underscore click. That's the next one. We'll instantiate a new dog object. We'll just say that it's a dog. I don't know, we can say like Snoop Dogg or something. Snoop Dogg. Alright, so then we have, we'll say messagebox.show. We'll say that the dog's name is, whoops. Close the string, concatenated to dog dot name, concatenated to dog dot. Actually, no, let's just go with dog dot name. So show, then here we'll call show animal info, and we'll pass in dog. So dog points a new dog, passing in Snoop Dogg as a string. Show the dog's name is plus dog.name, show animal info passing in dog. So the create cat button will be exactly the same. So we'll say cat points a new cat, passing in a, what does the cat take? I think it takes a name as a parameter. Yeah, it does. Here it takes a string name as a parameter or as an argument. Parameter or argument doesn't really matter. What's a cat name? I don't know, we'll just go with Arizona Wildcats. First thing I can think of. Okay, so that's the mascot for the University of Arizona in Tucson. not ASU, not ASU. I was gonna say something bad, but I can't. About ASU, no, I'm just joking. So we have, just because there's this joke where the two schools make fun of each other for some reason. There's some really bad jokes I can't really tell you. They're kind of funny. Well, they're not really that funny. They're kind of bad, but I can't tell you on this channel. I'm sorry. Okay, so here we'll have messagebox.show, and it's about ASU. It's not about the private school. Not that a state school is bad or anything. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so we have here, we'll pass in, so here we'll say the cat's name is concatenated to, here we'll call cat.name. You won't get the joke unless you go to one of those schools, because they're like rival schools. They like make fun of each other. We don't even, like in BC and British Columbia and Canada, we don't even have that. There's like two schools here that are pretty close to each other. UBC and SFU, they don't really make fun of each other. And then up north they have UBC, another campus, and then they have TRU, and then University of Northern BC, UNBC, I think. Those schools don't really make fun of each other, so I guess like not all provinces or states do that. Okay, so here we have messagebox.show. The cat's name is plus cat.name. Then here we'll say show animal info. Here it'll pass in just cat like that. So that's pretty much it. Save it. There's an exit button which I skipped. We just call this .close. We maybe could just do that for fun. So we'll just do that down here. Okay, so private void exit button underscore click. We can pretend we have that object sender comma event args e. Then here to reference the form, we just say this and then dot close. Not this dot like a field, we call it close. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'll just run this and then explain what's going to happen here. Let me just see what else we have here. What's the example show on the docs? I guess there's nothing to type in, so we're just going to go to the form here. You won't see the pop-up window once again, so I'll just run it. I'll describe what's going to happen, or I'll tell you what's going to happen. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, still loading here. It's getting pretty hot here. I like the weather. Alright, so we have create animal, create dog, create cat. Let's go left to right. So so that's what popped up. What you can see on the screen is what popped up. Then when I click the button, the animal create animal button, a message box or a dialog box popped up. It says species is generic animal. I'm gonna hit OK. Animal sound. Why did it say animal sound? Okay, let's go to the animal class. Animal sound. So the animal class has an animal sound. I may have changed that from when I first created it from growl. So we changed it, or I changed it, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna run it. Sorry, it's still running. I'm gonna click the create dog button. It says the dog's name is Snoop Dogg. Species is dog. Bark. Okay, let's go to the create animal button first. So you can't see this. So it says when I click the create animal button, it says species is generic animal. So let's go to the form class. Let's go to the code. So it says once again, species is generic animal. So this is what happened. We clicked the create animal button. And remember, the create animal button underscore click is an event handler. It waits to so once the button is clicked, then this method gets called because it responds to the button click. The event handler listens for an event to occur. Once it happens, it responds to the event. That's more so at Java FX, or even at Java, whatever it is. The older framework, I forgot what it's called. That's the definition from there. It still works. It's the same idea. They go with listeners rather than event handlers, but it's the same thing. Okay, so pretty much what happens is we instantiate an animal object. When we instantiate an animal object, it takes a string species. It sets that up as a property. What else happens here? We call show animal info. So what happens in show animal info? So it tells us the species is plus animal.species. In this case, it's an animal. And it tells us that the species is a, what did we say when we created it? Oh, whoops, I closed it. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so we animal points to new animal, passed in generic animal as a species. So when we instantiated the object, we passed it some instance data. Then we called show animal passing. So we called show animal info passing in the animal object, which stores the data for all the instance data, which includes the properties in C#. So it showed us that. So it told us that the animal was a generic animal. So let's look at that again. So it says species is generic animal, because here we have that string concatenated. The string species is concatenated to generic animal in this case, and we hit OK. Then animal.makeSound gets called. So we're going to go to animal. Make sound shows us a message box pop up that says animal sound. Okay, so that's what happens here. Now I'm going to click the create dog button. So what's going to happen? What happens when you click the create dog button? Instantiates a dog object. Dog points a new dog, passes in. So what happens in the dog class? When you instantiate an object, you have to check, well, does it take a parameter or is it parameterless? Or does it just use the default constructor? Or pretty much two of those may be the same. Default constructor and parameterless may be the same thing depending on your case, I guess. So in this case we have, it takes a string name, which we passed it Snoop Dogg, and then it also uses the basis constructor to set up the species, which remember is public, by the way. Yet the backing field here, this is the backing field. In C#, this is called a backing field. It's denoted conventionally with the underscore. So the species was set up through the base keyword. We passed it the string dog. So base calls the, so I've talked about this all in the previous videos. I did the whole tutorial on how to use the base keyword and all that. So if you're confused, go back in the csharp.net playlist, watch them. Recommend going to the start and watching them. If you're really confused and you don't understand, I do everything from scratch, like you're just starting, like as if you were taking it in school. Okay, so now we have base here. So base we're passing in, we're calling the base keyword, passing in the string species. So base, this is saying use the base class's constructor and pass it dog as the argument. So we go to animal, remembering that we pass it a string dog, and it takes a string species, therefore the species property is set up to dog as a string. Now the name property gets set up as normal, which we passed in here, which was Snoop Dogg. We passed it Snoop Dogg for the name property. Okay, so now message box show that the name is, pass the dog.name. We could have showed it, so that therefore it tells us that it's Snoop Dogg. It says the dog's name is Snoop Dogg. We could have maybe showed we could have showed the species as well. It showed us the species. Okay, why did it show? Okay, so the show animal info. Let's check that out as well. Okay, so show animal info shows us the species. So it tells us the species is a dog because we just showed how to. Well, I just told you guys why that happened, because it called the parents or the base class's constructor. Okay, so I'm gonna hit OK on that message box, and another one pops up and it says bark. Why does it say bark? Because show animal info calls animal.makeSound. Remember, this takes an animal object. So when we pass it, wait a minute, takes animal object. Okay, so in this case, a dog is an animal, so that's the point here. So this works, so you can always try that if you're trying something. The best way to see if it works is to try it. And what happened here? So it said bark, so we're in the show animal info method. We pressed the create dog button. Now it's saying bark. Why is that? Because here, after the create dog button was executed, it called show animal and well, while it was still executing, it showed show animal info, passing in the dog object that we instantiated here. So then once this method executes, we have to transfer to that method's definition. Show animal info, passing the dog as an argument. So it shows us the species of the dog's instance data, in this case the animal.species, which is a dog, because so a dog is an animal, that's why this is working. But if this said it took a dog, and you passed it an animal, it might have not worked without a cast. So even with a cast, just be careful, it can mess things up. Be really careful with casts, especially backwards polymorphism and inheritance stuff. That might have worked. Just be careful with it though, because it might not make sense, because an animal might not be a dog. If it's another type of object, it might not work. Depends on what it is. Or it might not make sense at least. Okay, so here we call the animal's make sound method. In this case we call the dog, because we pass it a dog and a dog is an animal, then we call the animal's make sound method, which is going to, since it's not an actual animal class, it's not the animal class that it's referencing, I mean it's referencing the dog's make sound method, which said bark. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We'll go with the create cat button just to practice one more time. So create cat button, when the create cat button gets clicked, it instantiates a cat object. It says cat points to new cat, passes in Arizona Wildcats as the name. Let's go to the cat class. It also passes the species as a cat to the base class's constructor, sets up the name property as normal. Also has a make sound method which says meow, or mow, not mow, because one of my cats says mow. Actually both of them kind of say mow, but the other one sometimes meows as well. Just depends what mood they're in. Okay, so we have so pretty much here, then we have message box dot show the cat's name is plus cat dot name, so it shows the cat's name. In this case it's Arizona Wildcat, so I'm going to hit OK. And it says species is cat. Okay, so why does it say that? Because we're calling the show animal info method, passing in the cat objects. So go to the show animal method, or show animal info method. It takes an animal as a parameter. It takes an animal object, animal as a parameter. In this case, a cat is an animal, so this would work. We pass it a cat object, where a cat is an animal through inheritance here. A cat is an animal. Cat inherits from animal, therefore a cat is an animal. Then it shows animal info. Then it shows, so it calls the animal's make sound method, where in this case the animal is a cat, and the cat says meow. It says meow. That's it. That's the end of the tutorial. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. The rest of the videos will be in the csharp.net playlist on my channel, Code Invest. So polymorphism isn't very hard. You can just always practice with it. For example, this is a pretty good example. We can see how polymorphism is working. Depending on the object that we're passing it, that's what objects method is called. So in this case, where we called show animal info, which takes an animal object, you can also pass it a cat because a cat is an animal and a dog is an animal. So you can always practice, see what works, see what doesn't. And you can test. In this case, we were able to pass it a cat or a dog object to the show animal info method, because cat and dog inherit from animal, and a cat is an animal and a dog is an animal through inheritance. So you can pass. So if you call an animal object, for example, something higher in the hierarchy, and you want to pass it something lower in the hierarchy that inherits from something higher in the hierarchy, then that would work. So in this case, you were able to pass a dog or a cat object because they both inherit from animal, therefore that would work. And the method that was called depended on the object itself. In this case, the cat calls its make sound method, which says meow. The dog calls its make sound method, which says bark, and the animal calls its make sound method, which just says animal sound, I think. So pretty much that's it. It depends on the object that's called. That's how polymorphism works. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Thanks.